Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. So I want to have a chat with you about what's going on around the world, and essentially international relations unfortunately seems to be breaking down. We're having a lot of crazy headlines these days, and let's just jump right in and I'll share what I mean. So I was looking at this and I wanted to talk with you guys about this. So headline, Macron's push to get China's help on Ukraine is unraveling. And unfortunately, I guess there's a Chinese ambassador that was sort of trash talking former Soviet bloc states, essentially, right? You can see here anger in Europe after Chinese diplomat says ex-Soviet states not sovereign. So basically saying, you may be, say that you are a country by itself, but in fact you are not self-governing, and you are, part of the former Russia kind of stuff. And it is kind of a crazy thing that we are having these discussions because, this is something that I'm showing you guys on Twitter. This is kind of people trolling each other. So this is a guy named Shane Ku. Again, this is just people trolling each other. But he's like, hey, look, guys, look back in history. Look at the Russian Empire was huge, right? Finland was part of it, and Poland and Ukraine and all these countries. And this is the same map is also showing the Ottoman Empire and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And the basic argument they'll make is like, well, the map, used to look like this in history, and therefore we can, make it look like that again. This is back in 1914, the Russian Empire. And someone was trolling back on Twitter. Oh, well, look at this. This is West Taiwan. I thought it was pretty funny. The other one was like, trolling again. This is a Japan Empire expansion into 19th, 20th centuries. You can see Japan had expanded all the way to Thailand, Vietnam, etc. Parts of China. Someone's like, well, we might as well talk about Mongolia too. Look at that. And the reason why I'm, being a little bit sarcastic and stuff like this is that you can go back, as far as you want. And at one point, borders were different. 100% that's, true. Someone even made a really funny joke. Is like, well, how far you want to go back? We could talk about dinosaurs and Venezuela when we were, all one continent essentially. And my point is that unfortunately, we live in a world at the moment that you can make any old excuse you want why you have the right to attack another person and take their land. You can make up anything that you want. And I always question the sort of rationale that people make for those kind of, violent acts. One of the things that's happening as well is countries are, struggling in terms of cash. This is what it is, right? Everyone's central banks are raising interest rates and the money stopped flowing. And so now the issue is, okay, so what do we do about, cash? We don't want necessarily a stagnant economy. We don't want necessarily to stop all exporting, right? Just said, quote, essentially make money. And you're seeing these sort of like, how can I say, like sides form. So you may have, say, China and Russia on one side, the U.S. in another side, and then you have countries kind of in the middle that are like, well, I just want to sell crap and make money. Ethics and wars, not my business kind of thing. And this is an example. So here it's saying the U.S. is urging South Korea not to essentially send chips over to China, right? They're trying to do a boycott on that and try to get Koreans to go along with it. I'm in Korea, as you guys know. And, the point of view of, say, here would be like, I'm not saying mine, just, the government could be like, well, I just want to sell chips. I don't care who I sell them to or what they're doing with said chips, if they're building weapons or not. I just want to sell chips. Or even Japan is actually an interesting one. This is saying here, you can read the headlines, Toyota pledges local supply chains for electric vehicles in China. This is something that, again, it's hard to stop companies from wanting to make money overseas. And also, too, this is something that we talked about, I think it was like a month or so ago, where we saw that Japan was buying natural gas from Russia. So it's really hard to control what another country does because they certainly have their own self-interest, be it economically or, energy is another one as well. And if, the U.S. is like, hey, everyone, cut off, support to Russia, people are like, well, I kind of need that energy. And this is sort of something unfortunate is that you do have some states that want to attack others, and then there you have like sort of states that are sort of kind of being, I say kind of be, they try to be neutral, but ultimately you got to figure out, okay, which side do I want to be on, and are we going to go back to the sort of that Cold War kind of era? I don't know if necessarily we are. Before there was all this talk about essentially globalization, we're all going to be interconnected to each other, we weren't going to fight because essentially, like for example, if Russia attacks another country, then our companies pull out, and then like Russian average person loses like a better life, right? They lose access to all kinds of things, and then if like say China decides to support Russia, and then what if, the regular Chinese people can't get, chips that they need to, essentially build TVs and refrigerators and any number of things. It is in my opinion, is a sad world if we stop trading, and it's also a sad world if we start attacking other countries because we want to bring the map back to what it was in 1914. I mean, it's like over 100 years ago. So I'm just pointing this stuff out to you that we have sort of like really serious contradictions in terms of like what people's motives are and actions. And ultimately, my personal opinion is that people do behave rationally. However, when someone does behave irrationally, and I think in this case, the Putin situation, right, I just think it's completely irrational. I personally don't see any particular, what's hard to say, thing to be gained by like prolonging the war for years. I mean, it's just costing lives and money, and it's really unfortunate. I don't know what to say, and I don't want to make any joke about that whatsoever. I wish it would end. And I also do understand, though, other countries are like, crap, well, what do we do? I mean, we can't necessarily, stop business forever. Here's an example. So, Adidas is like really going to try to market to Chinese. And the reason why we're talking about, say Adidas in China, just for example, is if you have a Chinese ambassador saying, parts of Europe are, should be part of Russia or don't have sovereignty, and then you have like, countries in the EU that want to be friends with each other and stuff like that. You guys see what I'm saying? It's like you're kind of on to pick sides, and China's not specifically attacking, Ukraine, but they are support of Russia. And so this becomes of like, okay, so what do we consider neutral or non-neutral? It's a complex world that we live right now. I just wanted to chat with you guys sort of like how complicated it is. We are further, unfortunately, have to deal with problems in the Sudan. If you guys have been following this one, the recent thing, I was just looking at it, the U.S. that is has started evacuating, or have already evacuated, I should say, over the weekend. I think it was like 100 of our people of the embassy and these kind of things, like diplomats, right? And there's a bunch of people that were essentially left behind, Americans, but a lot of these people have dual citizenship. I read this crazy report. If you guys read this headline here, Americans trying to flee Sudan are hiring private security companies to get out of the war zone after the U.S. said no military evacuation is coming. So, I mean, it's like the kind of stuff that you have in the movies where, like, you're hiring essentially like an Arnold Schwarzenegger, mercenary for hire kind of person to get you out of the country. It's like crazy that this is a thing. This is stock. This is a stock photo here, but I do think a lot of the fighting is this kind of stuff. It is a messy fight in the Sudan, where like street fighting kind of stuff. I was looking at this as well, and this is more sort of images coming out of Sudan. So there was a statement, 20,000 dual citizens, and there was a statement by the U.S. Essentially, I'll read it to you guys. It says, "We're going to continue to do everything we can to bring this fighting to a conclusion." So this is Undersecretary at the State, was it John Bass? And then they also said here, but as a result of that uncertain security picture, as a result of the unavailability of civilian airport, we don't foresee coordinating a U.S. government evacuation for our fellow citizens to Sudan, and at this time or in the coming days. So if you're a U.S. citizen, you're on your own, unfortunately, in the Sudan right now. It's not just Americans that I care about, but I mean, just saying for the American point of view, if you're completely neutral and you just want to get out, and it's kind of the same situation. I'm just talking about it in general, where like, other people are fighting and you just don't want to be involved. And, the problem is, like, if the fight doesn't stop, like, what do you do? Do you choose a side or do you don't? Or can you be neutral? And this is kind of why I mentioned the whole China situation and other countries, how they're responding to that. And again, China themselves aren't necessarily attacking Ukraine, but if you are supportive of a belligerent state, the other issues, we've been getting reports, like, for example, remember that it was like last month, it was like the whole spy balloon thing. And then just a couple days ago, we had the one where the CIA leaked the document that said that, China is looking to hack communication satellites, which I'm sure every country out there in the world is trying to figure out how to do these kind of things. And it just, I don't put this out there to like, scare you guys and we're all going to blow each other up. It's not like that. I just put this stuff out there because I want you to be aware of what's happening around the world and sort of why things are so confusing right now, because everyone essentially has to make their choice of like, what side do we, be on? Can we play all sides? Is that even an option? And moreover, I think you're going to see a lot of sort of change and fluctuations in what the big money is doing and wealth, because again, the money just isn't there like it was, during the quantitative easing era, right? Low interest rates, et cetera, and printing. You can look at this one just the last couple of days. Elon Musk loses billions. There was an interesting headline as well. BlackRock CEO, he sold, I think it was 7% of his stake in BlackRock, so it's like 25 million of stock. And this is sort of like why I talk to you guys all the time on channel on essentially, managing risk. This is something that, so essentially literally the CEO of BlackRock is also doing is you're managing risk. It's like, in the past, people would say like, oh, cash is trash. You don't need cash. Just throw it on the market, right? Because everything, makes money. But there comes a point to where like, you know what? Cash isn't so bad. People often too ask me about, gold and silver, that kind of stuff. So I'm not into that stuff. There are a bunch of channels out there that sell you doom and gloom every day, and they're essentially just trying to sell you a gold product. That's why they do that kind of thing. My general message when I go through these headlines with you guys is not to scare you. I want to be perfectly clear on that. It's to keep you informed, and also to get you to think about, okay, take the sure bets when you can. So sure bets is essentially like, pay off those variable interest rate loans, make sure your job is secure, and stay informed. Always be prepared for anything and a rainy day. Like for example, I do think this is a real concern. So we keep hearing stuff about commercial real estate. The basic gist of it is with work from home, we just don't need it as much as we used to. So, we'll see if we end up converting all these things to, residential or something like that. But it'll take a lot of time. It's not like, you can just go move into a new, office building. You have to rezone it and have to put in, tons of bathrooms and just like, basically do the whole, insides of these things. So it's not that easy. And these things are worth quite a bit of money. And also too, moreover, you have people who, invested a bunch of money in the said things. And then if they don't have tenants or the tenants refuse to pay and they're still there, like a Twitter situation, it creates a domino effect. So this is something that's been going on. And I kind of see it like as being all related. Example is, look at Credit Suisse, right? A $69 billion outflow in this past quarter, which is like crazy amounts of money that people are pulling out. And again, I think all of this, it goes back to the managed risk thing. So it's funny because, we do talk about, say, crypto and stuff on this channel occasionally. I'm not into crypto by any stretch of imagination, but I always think it's funny because like I get the argument for it, where it's like, well, if the whole system is going the crap, I'm just going to go into the most neutral thing possible. But like, in my mind, I'm still a big fan of like, when in doubt, having dollars and paying back your debts is a good move. And there was an interesting comment which I want to address and get your guys' opinion on. Someone had commented, so this is coming from Cyber Lando, which is a pretty funny name. And the Cyber says, my question is, why do you make the naive approach, so call me naive, approach that AI won't know? How did you learn the information, the internet, just like the AI would have access to? So what made you think the assumption that the AI wouldn't know? And if you didn't watch my last video, the basic gist of it was I was making the argument that there is still a need for humans, because humans have intuition and make better predictions than the AI. However, I'm throwing this question to you. When I pose to you all of the risks and all of this sort of turmoil going around the world, let's just say use an example like the Sudan. Do you think the AI could have predicted that? Do you think robots are capable of doing that? Or do you think we still need humans in order to assess information and these kind of things? And so I'm on the side of humans, and moreover, I'm not saying AI is not going to be good. I think it will be good for many things. But I think if you want to remain useful in this world with the coming technology and the coming stability, it is educate yourself, find a way to provide people value, and essentially prove that you are better than the AI. So just my general answer is maybe for some people, yes, 100% AI will be better than people. But that just means if you want to be successful in this world, you've got to work extra hard to prove that you are worth more than a computer. So anyway, that's been your daily news. Love to hear your thoughts on any one of these things going on in the world. I want to hear from people in our community who are in Europe. What do you think about the comments that the Chinese ambassador made? And also, if anyone has any family members in Sudan, I'd love to hear sort of how they're doing and what's going on with that. So thanks again for your time, everyone, and I'll catch you in the next video.